Hello, it's Patrick Hutzel from IntensiveCareHotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives for families of critically ill patients in intensive care so that you can make informed decisions, have peace of mind, real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. This is another IntensiveCareHotline.com podcast, and today I have a very special guest with me. Today I have Whitney with me. Hi, Whitney.
Hi. Hi, Patrick. Nice to meet you today.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. Whitney, we have been working with you. You have been one of our clients for a long time now. I'm losing
Yes,
track of time. How long have
almost a year.
almost, oh my goodness, almost a year. And Whitney, I really want you want to share your experience, you want to share, your family members' story and journey in and out of hospitals. Why don't you why don't you start where you want to start?
Yes, so it definitely has been a long journey. We're approaching almost 15 months since my mom had her like first hospital stay. Um, my mom is no stranger of going to the hospital because prior to that, my mom has diabetes. She's a kidney transplant patient, and she's also legally blind, but she's always, before this journey started, she's had like decent health where hospital stays maybe like every other year that she experienced for maybe 2 to 5 days. But last year, the exact date, August 15th, I'll never forget it. I brought her into the emergency room just for to be seen just because she had like some confusion. She was losing weight. She wasn't eating normally like she does. And my mom, if you meet her, she's sharp as a whiz. She's the person that reminds me everything. She's well educated. She's a former ICU nurse herself.
Yeah, right.
Um, and so I knew something was off. So I brought her into the emergency. The doctors, they evaluated her. They checked her for everything, all the way from any terminal illness you could think of, cancer, s- I don't know, any sort of deadly illness, a stroke. They checked for a stroke and everything came back normal. Um, I then found that she had like a infection. I can't even think the name of the infection, but something they said is like a general code. They said for someone like her, it's harder for her to fight because she is autoimmune suppressant because of her kidney transplant. And for someone like me, it would be just like a code. And so they treated her, and unfortunately, the antibiotic that they treated her with did not do well because she has kidney disease. And so it completely altered her mental state. Uh, she began to have seizures. Uh, she was extremely confused, didn't know where she was. She almost went into like, it was almost like she was in a coma for about 2 weeks. And so since then, we've gone through where my mom was given like a tracheostomy, seizures, and so on. So I was at the point my mom was in ICU, neural ICU, and I remember the doctor said that we need to have a meeting. And I didn't understand what that meeting was because, again, my mom's never really been in the hospital like that, only 2 to 3 days. I understand she has health conditions, but it wasn't as, she always had decent health. She was able to manage her diabetes and so on. And so I it's like, okay, maybe the meeting is for us to strategize because I'm a project manager by profession. So I was just thinking like maybe it's to strategize. Maybe it's just to kind of everybody can get aligned and understand how can we help my mom so she can, get better. And so I forgot to mention I was pregnant, so I was definitely dealing with a lot of emotions during that time. And so we sat in the meeting and they said we have three options. And it was like a social worker there, someone from palliative care. When I did my research, they said palliative care is basically someone from like it's essentially like hospice, but they can help from complex issues and things like that. And so they said we have three options. We can either do everything we can to help your mom. We can stop treatment and allow for her to just transition on. And they use these very difficult medical terms, I'm going to be honest. They said, or we can do on do not resuscitate and whatever happens, happens. And I told them, like, the first thing I said, I'm a believer. I believe in God and I believe that miracles can happen. And I'm not going to give up on my mom. And if I give up on my mom, that means I've given up on God. And so they really looked at me crazy, honestly, like I was insane. And they threw in science. I said, I understand science. I said, my mom's been in the health field for years, decades. And I said, I'm not giving up on her. And so they said, okay. And so I went home and I cried and I prayed. And for some reason, God told me to look up like ICU help. And I literally typed in ICU help and I saw Patrick's like link and I just paid for it. And I didn't know what I was paying for. Honestly, I was like, I hope this is like
This is
good for
legit.
us.
You were
Yeah.
hoping it was legit.
Yeah, I hope this is legit, but I'm just gonna pay for it. And I found Patrick, and from that time that I found Patrick into now, he's like helped me navigate through the questions that I ask. There's times where they're like, "How do you know this stuff? Like, how are you figuring this out? How do you know about these things?" And I'm like, I just feel comfortable and empowered to challenge like these doctors because they do come in and they use all these strange things and these strange like just words and things like that, especially someone that doesn't have a medical background, it's almost like foreign to you. And so I mean his team has honestly like helped my mom like still be here today. And I really appreciate it. I'm trying not to cry because it's definitely been a difficult journey. And, you know, my mom's been at a place where she literally was like, had a trach and learning how to breathe on her own. And now she can breathe on her own. She doesn't have a trach. Even though it's been a journey these last 15 months, she's been at a place where she's like able to like walk with a walker and things like that. And we're still navigating the hospital, but Patrick, I really appreciate your team
I was
and
just
how
about
much
to
you,
say this. Just I have to give a big shout out to my team here
yeah,
because this is not a one-man show. So a big shout out to my team here, to Cheryl
yeah,
City and Mila, and also our VAs that are working in the background. So big shout out there. Thank you.
yeah. But that's, I mean, to make that long story as short as I could, that's pretty much how, you know, what my experience has been these last
And
months.
I and what I remember, because we have been working with you now for a long time. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Whitney. When I looked through my records earlier, the first ICU stay for your mom, they were adamant. Initially, they were adamant to move her towards end of life as quickly as possible. And
Yes.
then once she turned the corner and improved, then they were adamant sending her to LTAC from memory. Is that correct?
Y
And
yes, yes,
and
that's true.
we were
I
telling
forgot about,
you, no, don't let her go to LTAC. Let them wean her off
yeah.
the ventilator in the ICU. And they did, didn't they?
Yeah, and they were so aggressive. I didn't know what to do, what to say. But yeah, yeah, you guys like helped me understand like what exactly to do with that. Uh, Luckily with that, I was just like pushing them. I was asking them questions about insurance, and during that entire time, she was winged off. They couldn't do anything. So they winged her off, and she didn't go to have to go to LTAC, which I'm grateful that she did it because I heard it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And also from memory, Whitney, weren't they telling you that she's running out of insurance entitlements in
They
ICU?
did.
And then
They did
I
say,
probably we probably told you you'd better check that with the insurance, and then you checked it with the insurance, and the insurance said no, she still has entitlements for ICU.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is, I keep saying over and over again, hospitals are so, or trying to pretend they can do whatever they want until you challenge it.
yes, yeah.
And
It's almost like they're like bullies. Like it's
bullies,
yeah. There's
if you
they
had
th
given in, if you had given in at the first sign of resistance, your mom may not be here.
mm-mm. No, she wouldn't. They, like I said, they're like bullies. They try to use like my age against me, like you're so young and I have kids your age, and I don't think if I was your mom, I would never want to go through this. You have so much on your plate. Adding your caring for your mom is just too much for you. Just things like that that they would throw in, to kind of try to make it seem like they care, but no. Yeah. They were
They
like bullies. Like, yeah, at this point, when I walk into that hospital, they like know like Whitney's coming and she's going to challenge us. And we bet not ask. Like even when they ask about palliative care, I'll say, I don't want to hear about palliative care. I don't care about palliative care. What I've asked you to do is take care of my mom and do what's needed. They'll ask about, do you want to change her from full code? I say no. Um, what it says is full code. Do not bring that up again. So I feel like, honestly, I feel like I run the hospital at this point just because I have Patrick's team behind me, uh, that can help me challenge this hospital and the doctors and so on.
and with the notion of the hospital saying, "Oh, if it was my mom, I wouldn't want her to go through this." I mean, as far as I'm aware, your mom is full of life with all the challenges that she's experiencing. But at no point in time has your mom said to you, "I want to give up."
Mm-mm. She hasn't. She hasn't said any of that. She said that she still wants to keep fighting. And she still wants to, keep going to therapy and just improving, which she has. She's been improving. So yeah,
Yeah, no, you are. It's great that you say nice things about us. That's wonderful. By the same token, it also takes a determined client to
you're right.
implement what we are saying. Because I know from experience, the hospitals can be like bulldozers. They really can. It also takes someone really strong-willed and say, look, you can try with me, but you're not getting very far because
Yeah,
I know my rights.
exactly. Exactly. And once I understood what my rights were, because I thought like, oh, the doctors can make these decisions without, me being involved. Yeah, I feel very equipped. Like throughout this entire journey, I did not realize how strong and passive aggressive I can be with the doctors, and how much I can, use what I've learned in other fields to challenge these doctors and make sure advocate for my mom, because that's what I've been doing this entire time, just being her advocate and just making sure she has the best care, so she can come home. So
Right. You mentioned earlier, which I was unaware of, you mentioned earlier that you are a project manager in your professional life.
yeah.
You are certainly project managing your mom's situation.
Yeah, it worked out, just to make sure, like when it comes to speaking to the entire like different doctors, when they bring in like, oh, we're recommending this medication, I was like, have you talked to nephrology? Have you talked to our endocrinologist? So I'm always bringing those things in. There's times where they're like, what do you do for work? Where they're like, how do you know all this stuff? So yeah,
Mm,
it's been great. I remember, so Patrick, when we had the meeting with palliative care, well, they weren't involved, and you sat on the call and they were like, who is this guy? Like, why is he asking all these questions? How does he know this? But yeah, it's just yeah, I think I definitely have been my mom's advocate during this time, and I know she appreciates it. She said it multiple times, like, I really appreciate you and I love you for, just continuing to advocate for me. So there's times when
mm.
we go to, because she has been home throughout this time. She's been home for about 4 months during this time. And when we're at her doctor's appointment, she said, I'll just let my daughter talk because I know she's my advocate. So I'll just talk for her, answer the questions, and kind of go from there. So
Yeah, yeah. Your situation has really ticked a number of boxes of something that I've been saying for many years, and I want to break this down for anyone listening, because the first thing that sort of it showed to me was they wanted, let's call it for what it is. They wanted to kill your mom.
yeah.
You stood up against that successfully, right? Because no hospital can just end someone's life. It's just
Mm-mm.
not. Hospitals say they can, until you challenge it.
Hmm.
They're
Very
very good
true.
at pretend. They're very good at pretending. Oh well, we'll just stop everything, and then a patient's going to die. Well, they will do that if you let them,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
can't if you challenge it with the right tools. That
Hmm.
was number one. Number two was the insurance issue where they told you she's running out of ICU entitlements until you checked with the insurance, and the insurance
Hmm.
clearly verified with you, well, she can still
This
stay
is
in
not true.
ICU. This is
Yeah.
not true, right? So two agendas there straight away from hospitals. Number one, they needed the bed, wanted to end your mom's life. Number two, they needed the bed. We're telling you she's running out of insurance entitlements. She needs to go somewhere else. Well, that didn't work. Number three, eventually they wanted to send her to LTAC. That didn't work because you stood your ground, right? And this is also something that I've been saying for over a decade now. They can't just send the patient out to another facility without a patient or a next of kin or power of attorney consent. It's just not happening.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just not happening. And I don't know, I can't remember the ins and outs, but if your mom had gone to LTAC, would she have gone far away from where you are? Would they wanted to send her hours away?
No, there were options where it was hours away, but there were a few L tacks that were within like a 30-minute
Okay.
like radius.
Radius. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And are you now on good terms with the hospitals, or are they still giving with the hospital, or are they still giving you a hard time?
Um, they're not, so they'll ask questions like now recently my mom's in a hospital right now just for she has a simple infection, a UTI, just very simple. Um, but she's in the hospital for that. And so they asked like her first when she was in the emergency room, they said, your mom is still listed as full code. Do you want us to change it? I said no. Keep it the way it is. And then they asked, have I talked to someone in palliative care? I said no, I do not want to speak to anyone from palliative care. They did send because I guess they have like care ministries that are there, but they're part of palliative care. And I learned that. I did not know because that's how it started. I remember when they first came in, there was someone from the ministry, and I said, I just don't know what to do. And I was in tears again. Mind you, I was pregnant, so I was very emotional, and it's my mom. And I told him I don't know what to do. I don't know. This was before I found Patrick. And I said, I don't know what to do. I have a lot to think about with my mom. The doctors have said that she's not going to recover, and they're recommending that I look into like palliative or hospice care. And like he was so genuine and so nice. And he said, you have a lot to think about. And so he left, and that's when the palliative doctor came and the entire team came and they basically said like we could end her life that evening. And I was like, wait, I was honestly like I was like hurt because I was like I thought this guy like cared, and I had to remind myself he works for this hospital. He's part of this team. And so they did send most recently someone from like the ministry, and he asked, and I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming in to see about my mom. I said, I just told him my mom is doing well. She's just, taking time to recover. And he said, okay, thank you. And he left. But I know if I would have like said more to him, probably a palliative care doctor would have came in and said something similar than they did months about 6 or 7 months ago. So
It's
yeah.
it's almost it's almost unbelievable how far down how how bad the health system is, because if someone's coming in and telling you, hey, I can take care of ending your mom's life tonight, that's shocking.
Yeah.
That is
It's
absolutely shocking.
it's horrible. It's horrible how they treat just human beings. Yeah, it's almost like it's just a business.
Just a business,
Um,
just a machinery.
Yeah, it's just a business. Their number, it's like they treat them like numbers. Like they'll say, like when I've corrected them multiple times, they say, "Oh, patient 15," and I'll tell them her name is Crystal Hill. So I'll like say names, like I'll correct them, like she's a human. She's not just a number. She's not just a bed. She's a person. She's not just. any, you can't, you got to treat her like she's a human. I'll have to remind the doctors, like, if this was your mom, like, how would you treat them? If this was the nurses as well, and just remind them, like, hey, you got to get that. I understand this is your job, but you have to, like, have some sort of empathy for, these patients and the family. And sometimes the doctors and nurses are very, like, receptive of that, kind of feedback, and they kind of change, like, their mindset. But there's sometimes where it's like pushback and they don't care and they're more focused on, again, it being a business. So
Unfortunately, it's a business, and unfortunately, many doctors and nurses are now desensitized.
they
You know,
are.
just another death. So what?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Very true.
and for you, it's your mom. For you, it's your mom, and for them, it's just another number. I don't know whether in the course of working with you, whether we've sent you this documentary that was published from CBC in the US a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
that there are some insurances, they pay the hospitals an incentive when patients go into palliative care and hospice. I need to send that
Wow.
to you. I need to send that to you.
Yeah, send it
It's
to me.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
unbelievable.
Wow.
It is unbelievable. And to top it all off, if they do, those patients don't even show up in the mortality rate of the hospital, meaning the numbers look really good. I'll send it to you. I
Yeah,
will send
send it
it
to
to
me.
you.
I will look.
And
Wow.
shout
Okay.
shout out here at this point. The person that made me aware of this is Scott Scara. Shout out here to Scott Scara. Scott's got his own podcast. He lost his daughter in 2001 in ICU during COVID. His 19-year-old daughter. It's an awful
Wow.
story. He's got his own podcast now, making noise about, that the hospital killed his 19-year-old daughter, who also had Down syndrome, and it's just an absolutely horrific story, right?
Mm.
Yeah, big shout out here to Scott, who made me aware of this documentary that I will send to you, and that I will also
Okay.
publish here when we publish the
Okay.
podcast, because people need to open their eyes.
Yes,
People need to
definitely.
open their eyes what's happening out there, and that there's an element of, I believe it's population control.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
It's population control. And unfortunately, I keep saying 99.9% of families in intensive care, they don't question.
Hmm.
They get walked all over. And then 12 months later, they wonder, oh, was this real? Did this,
Hmm.
did this really happen? And then
Hmm.
they start asking questions when they
Right.
wake up, when they finally wake up, but then it's too late.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it is too late. Yeah, I agree.
You, you
I've
know,
I've had if I look back, just f family members that passed in ICU. I think if we would have known, our rights and how to advocate for our loved ones, they might still be here. So yeah, I
they
totally
might
agree
still
with
be
that.
here. And just on that note, I do want to reiterate here, um, 90% of intensive care patients approximately survive. So don't let ICU teams
Yeah,
dissuade you saying, oh, it's all hopeless. Patients die here. Yes, patients die in ICU, but actually not that many.
exactly.
Actually,
Very
not
true.
many.
Yes.
So
And I look back in the past, like I said, my mom has had health complications prior to this. She's been in ICU and she got out just fine. I think at least for my mom's situation, when it becomes so complex where the doctors are like, I don't know what to do, and let's just move on from this and talk to the patient's daughter about palliative care so we can move on and she can move on, I guess. Um, I just feel like that's how they are, at least for my mom, for that situation. So, yeah, I'm just gonna keep pushing them and keep challenging them throughout this. And um, again, I'm a believer and I'm faithful and I'm gonna keep praying and pray that things turn around because I think they will. And yeah, again, I'm happy that I have you, Patrick, and your team behind me that can, enlighten me on things that are, in her chart and questions that I should ask. and they'll probably ask for another meeting. I'll tell them I'm happy to meet with them, but I don't need palliative care in the room. Uh, but and I'm sure they'll probably say we don't have to meet from there. But yeah, I think yeah, I'm excited from moving forward. I'm hopeful that she'll be back home with us and we can continue on and just work towards her back to her past her life where she was walking around and talking and doing everything that she needed to do. So
Yeah. No, look, Whitney, I really, really appreciate you sharing so generously here. And
thank
I
you for
think
having
this
me.
is, thank you. I think this is a really good, I think this is so much encouragement for everyone who has a family member in intensive care. So
Mhm.
much encouragement here that you can turn things around. You really can.
Yes.
But you need to be stubborn and you need to be given all the insights, but you also need to implement. And you can't be timid in implementing either,
No.
because they are not timid, clearly
Mhm.
not.
Yes, I definitely have stepped out of my comfort zone. Yes. So
And
you can't be timid. I would definitely, yes, sure, reiterate that. You cannot be timid when you're dealing with the doctors and the nurses.
mm, I think that's a good whatever comes your way now in life, if you can turn this situation around, you can probably turn any other situation around in life.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Whitney. We really hope and pray for your mom who's now back in hospital. We really hope and pray for your mom that she can get back home like she has done, like she has beaten the odds many times before.
Hmm.
And once again, really want to thank you for sharing so generously. Any final words?
I don't have any final words. I just encourage, if there's a loved one dealing with something similar as I am, just remain, have a goal and set your mind on that goal to achieve. If you want your loved one to recover, push for that. Challenge the doctors. Don't be afraid to challenge them. Don't be afraid to challenge the nurses and tell them what they need to do, because you can do that. Um, and remind them that you're part of the team, and you want to be a part of the team. And every time they're aware, the doctors call me every day, even before I get into the hospital to see my mom to give me an update. And they're aware that my mom that I love to get updates. So I just recommend and encourage you all to, you know, shake the table if you need to, in order to ensure that your loved one recovers and can come back home to you. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So we're going to wrap this up here. Thanks again, Whitney, for coming on to the call. If you need help and you have a loved one in intensive care, go to intensivecarehotline.com, check out our website. You can also become a member of our membership for families of critically ill patients in intensive care. If you go to intensivecarehotline.com and you click on the membership link, I also do one-on-one consulting over the phone, Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp, whichever medium works best for you. We do medical record reviews in real time and also after intensive care. If you like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, give the video a like, share the video with your friends and families, leave your comments. And I also do a weekly YouTube live where I answer your questions live on a show. Thanks again, Whitney. Have a wonderful day and all the best. Take care
awesome.
for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.